Greetings, one and all. Chris Courtney here. Just doing a little bit of going a little broader with the live stream. We are pushing it into new areas, and I'm going to take just a second to come over here and get the live link that YouTube has provided us with. And I want to go and share that. So just 1 second. We're not quite underway yet. Although I do love the fact that CouchBot does a great job of, well, no, CouchBot hasn't done that great job yet. CouchBot is lagging this morning, but that's okay. That's okay. CouchBot will fire it up here in just a second. Hope you're doing okay this morning, though. We just getting underway. Come on, CouchBot. Here's of late, CouchBot has been pretty straightforward, working pretty well. They actually went to a paid service, which we are supporters of, subscribers, whatever term you want to use for that. And really wish that what I wish from a streaming perspective is that YouTube use the same URL every day, but because they make a new video out of every video we make, there it is. They produce a different link every day, which means it's fairly difficult to keep up with. Although I want to check that while we are here. Yeah, there's no way to check that. Okay, I'm going to hop over here real quick, post that, and then we'll be off and running this morning. I'm going to use IFTTT to set up a new hook to repost this moving forward. We haven't been cross-posting things for a while. Mainly because it hasn't been our focus, but now that everybody is like setting home and let's see here, and all right, so we got that posted, and I feel all good about life. So people will trickle in here as time allows. Hope you're doing well. Chris Courtney here, New Pragmatic, and these are different times, and in those times, I really think it's important that we have a place to come together, to ask questions. If you're seeing this for the first time, what you might not realize is there is a Discord community. I'm just going to borrow my other monitor. I use my iPad for a second monitor. There's a Discord community that we use where I have people in here and students in here asking questions every single day, submitting work, and we go back and forth. There's a jobs site in here. Actually, what's interesting, if you get into the New Pragmatic community, you'll find, let's see here, just how many design jobs. Well, these are, graphic designer, UX designer, lots of first of all, Behance is blowing up my feed this morning with just, gosh, how many jobs are posted to Behance this morning? Lots of people looking for designers, all happen to be on Behance. But Devo is hiring a remote UI UX designer anywhere. Coder is hiring down in Austin. Reborn Health is hiring anywhere. Clyde is hiring in New York City. Custard is hiring anywhere. Fair is hiring in San Francisco. These are all jobs that you could know about right away. No having to go dig on a lot of sites. I basically aggregate these for you using using well, it's aggregated for you inside of Discord. So it's a great reason to sign up for the New Pragmatic Discord community. It's free. All you have to do is go to newpragmatic.com, and there's a little link on the homepage. Um, Otherwise, aside from those things, we basically use this time to give feedback to students. I give daily feedback to students who are working through projects, and frankly, I like to see what they're coming up with. An exciting way to be able to connect with any student who has work that's ready for feedback, without them having to necessarily be on the call. As you can probably guess, there are students that every day are working through things, but they're not necessarily in the same time zone. Additionally, there are students that, for whatever reason, say for instance, it's Friday morning here, but it's late Friday in Israel, and I believe, there are certain, as you'll find when you work with people from different cultures, there's religious customs as you move into like Saturdays. So a lot of times when I'm giving feedback to people, depending on where they are, they may not be able to act on that feedback until days later. Sometimes that's because of a religious custom. A lot of times it's because you're busy. But these videos are all recorded and they're posted on YouTube, on the YouTube New Pragmatic channel. So it'd be youtube.com/c/New Pragmatic, or you could just search YouTube New Pragmatic. You could also go to the link on the homepage of the New Pragmatic site, and basically all the feedback loops going back to last September are there. I say last September because New Pragmatic really wasn't around much longer than that. This is a fairly new operation. So if you've got questions and you happen to be part of the New Pragmatic community, it's pretty easy to ask your questions. If you do not have access to the New Pragmatic community, obviously it's a little harder to ask questions. So I'm going to try to keep an eye over here, but my first focus is always on the Discord community. But if you've got questions, feel free to ping me on whatever service that you happen to be using. Some people may ping me over on Twitter. Other people may be pinging me on YouTube. Discord is where I'm going to keep my primary focus, but I will circle back through the day to check out questions that have come in other places. I need to get back over to Feedback Loop. All right, so actually I want to reorient this so I can see it a little easier. There we go. It's a little easier to see. Although, to be honest with you, that's going to fall. Boop. Live TV. Actually, this isn't TV. This is streaming. Although what's funny, we'll say this before we get started. What is funny is to see most cable news shows, cable news programming, shift from being in these elaborate studios to basically being in a home situation with lighting similar to this. Most of them have like a green screen behind them. I actually do have a screen. I just don't have it up at the moment. There's no need. I'm not trying to drop my background out or anything. But it is kind of fun to see, how would MSNBC or CNBC or any of these broadcasters, how would they handle a situation like this? Oddly enough, if you're watching TLC or any of those other channels, they don't really have live people. It's all just pre-recorded stuff. So you don't see any of this. Let's go ahead and jump in, though. And to do that, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. And let's see what we have today. So one of the first things that we're going to look at here is from a student of mine, Katie. And Katie has been working through her initial sketches. And one of the things that we talk about when we get into sketching our our initial interfaces is this concept that most interfaces are long. And I talk specifically in the sketching chapter about the 4-up approach, where you basically are trying to sketch 4 quick ideas. But the shallow rectangle doesn't really reflect the shallow rectangle that you see here doesn't, zoom in. That really doesn't reflect the likely depth of a home page, and particularly of a mobile home page. So what I like to do is more of these halves, where you take a sheet of paper, you fold it in half, and you work vertically, which allows you a little more space to think about what you've got. And yeah, I see you there, Tedgel jumping in, asking a question. We will add that to the queue, Tedgel, and take a look. But with Katie's homepage here, she's worked vertically to come up with a couple of different options. Now, as I jump through, and another thing I'll say is I do like adding these to Figma. We've had that discussion already in a prior feedback loop. But one of the reasons I like adding it to Figma is so we can really get in and look at it. If you throw this into a Google Doc, it's hard to see, what files have been submitted. And then the other issue is you can't really zoom in on it like this, which if I want to get all the way in, I can, and Figma allows me to do that. So that's nice. Just taking a quick overview. So she's got homepage, how it works, menu, meal, profile, shopping, checkout process. And these are all tethered to this concept of priority guides. So she's actually already written out the content and gone through 3 or 4 iterations on these to determine what the content actually is. So Katie's not flying blind here with regard to the sketches that she's making. She's making those full well knowing what the content is that she's going to be working with. And that is one of the most important things you can do as a designer, is before you sit down and you begin just randomly drawing boxes, you want to do everything you can to avoid backing yourself into a corner where you're designing out of your depth. You don't know, oh, well, we'll do 4 columns here. Well, the question I always ask, and Rebecca will tell you this because I asked her this week, Rebecca Barrier, she's the student from Israel I was talking about. I asked, she was working on a project for a client, and one of the first questions I asked about the wireframe she was making is, are we going to have an icon or a photo? I believe the concept that she was trying to work on was network governance, and it was very hard for me to see what network governance looks like. So I'm always asking designers, know what your content is before you begin designing a visual solution for something that is not a concept that you can visualize. That said, what I want to do, I want to look at this how it works, for instance. And for some reason, all of a sudden, my trackpad just died on me. So how it works, so you've got the different meal structures, featured items or new and featured items, a store locator, a footer. So it looks like, this is 4 features and a CTA. This is 5. And in this item, you get rid of the meal plan. I think the meal plan is probably useful, so that people can get an idea of, here's the ordering breakdown. Without that, I do wonder if you've got a call to action and that will circle you back to beginning the menu. And that's that obviously is the other part of this. At some point, we'll link these pages together, and you don't necessarily have to link them together in the wireframe in the sketching phase, but I think it's helpful to spot the holes in your design. And in Figma, it's really simple. You just draw a box and link it to where you want it to go. But with this, I really do think this does a better job of getting you there. What I want to see is I want to come through on your priority guides and see just, how do you have that page designed already? So how it works. See, you've expanded on it. Previously, it was how it works, and now you've got a video, and then you've got the 5 things that you do, and then a view our menu. So, this is where creep comes in. I was saying, oh yeah, I like the meals thing. Well, you've kind of added more. The meals weren't there in your priority guides. So, is this a further growth of the idea, or is this creep? And that's something you've got to look out for. Luckily, with the 3-5-10 pricing structure, this is something that you would have already had built. So this isn't like something new you would have to create, because last we checked, I think the 3-5-10 was, well, I thought it was on your homepage. Let's see. That's the initial homepage sketch. This is the new one. Okay, so perhaps this is an addendum. Let's go over here to your priority guides. I know we've taught. Maybe this was. Yeah, it wasn't on. Okay, so how it works, that's where you're doing your pricing. Okay, that's fine. So this was something that you'd asked questions about, because Katie circled back. She had some additional stakeholder interview questions, and she expanded in the pricing. I have to remember these things as we go. So that makes sense. It should be reflected on your priority guides, and here's what I'm going to say about those things. But I do think it's fine. That you've gotten it. I don't necessarily know if I'd go with the new and featured items, because that doesn't necessarily say how it works. That now you're getting into messaging creep. It's like, oh, can we shove everything in every corner? And you don't necessarily want to do that. Let's continue moving on down. So here's the meal page, and you've got a couple of different options here. So meal name, it looks like you can favorite it. You've got a description, a price, ingredients. On this side, it's nutrition and ingredients. On this side, it's nutrition menu. I'm not sure what the difference between these two are. Maybe this nutrition menu is like, a lot of times on meals, you won't have a calorie breakdown, but you will have like an ingredient breakdown. This is how much sodium this has in it. This is how much fat this has in it. Things like that. So maybe that's what's going on here. You can determine quantity, and you can add to cart. I don't know if checkout would be there. I think it's, and then continue shopping. It's interesting. I think this is where the interaction comes into play. It's like, okay, once we start linking this together, we'll know exactly what to do here. But I don't see any of that over here. I'm guessing this is kind of like, this would be add to cart. That's fine. This is also where some sort of notification would come into play. If this is your cart here at the top, or something would identify like that something's been added to the cart, so that you could then click it to go check out. But again, I want to see, we're just sketching right now, but as we're sketching, we're beginning to think ahead toward, okay, what is the interaction that's going to hook these things together? Okay, and that's again the reason why you've done all the work to this point is so you can focus on the design part of this, not the content part of this. The worst thing in the world is to try to do content design at the same time. Actually, it's not the worst thing in the world. The worst thing in the world, well, there's lots of bad things in the world. You know that. We're all living that. Here's the menu page. Menu page, dependent on sometimes what I think happens here is I click on something and then I try to come back. Somehow Figma gets unfocused, and then I lose control to do the pinch and zoom. But all you have to do is re-click on it, and Figma comes back into focus. I'm not sure why that happens, but if it happens to you, let me know. Let me know if this is something that happens to you quite often. So you've got filter options down the side, and it scrolls down the page. See, I like that. I like the fact that you're kind of thinking, okay, I'm holding the space, but here's how it's going to work. This would be a fixed position, by the way. Here you're filtering at the top, and that's just going to change the options down the side. So this is very much like an Amazon sort of thing. And this is, well, any number of other sites that do it the other way. These are all add to cart buttons. One thing that I might say, to avoid add to cart is that you might have some option to indicate which ones you want, like select, and then add to cart, rather than having to have 53 add to cart buttons on the page. Might be an option. But I like that. I like these two. I like the fact that I'm starting to see some idea of how it's going to function. These are just quick sketches, though. You don't have to get too crazy with it. Profile, it's always nice to see the smiley face. Address, home store, credit card on file, favorites. Order history. Order history is a pretty big one. I am curious of whether order history was in your priority guide, though. Let's go to profile. And yeah, it was. So again, and one of the things that I'll say is, when I'm doing my sketches, a lot of times, unless I have my priority guides to the side, it's very hard for me to keep everything in my head of what was intended for that page. This is honestly where it might make sense to grab the guide, just grab it, copy it, come over, and I can't paste it in here because I don't have edit access here, but just paste it. Although, obviously this is a sketch, so in this instance, makes a lot of sense just to have this open as you're sketching. So that it works a couple of different ways. You want to control it so you're not straying, okay? And the other way is you want to make sure everything's there that you want it to be there, and nothing's there that you didn't want to be there. This creep thing is real. I mean, and we have new ideas that pop in all the time. I'm gonna check here. We got somebody else here in the chat. Yeah, Tedgel's live. Tedgel is live. We're gonna show that here in just a little bit. It's always nice to see everybody. It's nice to see everybody excited about shipping their work and seeing it go live. Tedgel's been working for a while on this, and it's difficult to do this, to create your first site and to put yourself out there. It takes a lot. Katie, you're heading down that path. Luigi, you're heading down that path as well. We're all working to the point where we say, hey, I want to work with people and I want to do the design thing, and that's great. Tedgel's excitement is fantastic, and I would advise everybody to go check out her site. We will take a look at that here in just a moment. But Katie, I think your sketches are pretty strong. I like. I want to encourage you to make sure that you're staying as true to your priority guides as you can. Adding in things that you intend to be there, like you talked about the meal pricing, but not adding things in that are leading to creep. Okay, so that's my message to you. Overall, these are strong. Yeah, I see the 4 up here. That was from more from the original. Yeah. So now what I would do is I would try to go through and you can do this in a very literal way, where you just kind of organize these. Okay, and maybe you're taking this half and that half, and you just want to put them together in a sequence and ask yourself, okay, how would I make it through? And you've got your stories that you're trying to complete, your flows. How would I add this to an order? How would I update my credit card? How would I change my delivery address? How once you have those ideas, and then you can come in here and say, oh, okay, I need a screen here. I need an interaction there, because the next stage is you're going to actually start wireframing that. And I think it's a little easier. It's a little easier on you if you can determine what the missing pieces are and then quickly sketch them out, rather than get into wireframing, be working through, and then go, oh God, I'm missing a big piece of this. Everything that we're trying to do is spot holes as early as possible. There will be holes that we'll spot in wireframing, but I want to spot those in wireframing. I don't want to spot those in prototyping. And the holes that we spot in sketching will save us from having too much extra to do in wireframing. The holes that we spot in wireframing will save us from having too much to do in prototyping. The holes we spot in prototyping will save us from having broken tests in user testing. So this stuff all cascades forward. Okay, but overall, good job. Happy to see them in Figma, and we're going to move forward because now we've got Luigi, and Luigi has been working on his. So this is the form exercises. Luigi has been working through. There's 3 parts to the exercise, and he's specifically working on the 3rd part. We actually had a really good call with Eve last night as well. She's working through a similar portion. Actually, she's working through this portion of the program, going through forms. So she beat you. Just kidding, Luigi. So here you've got, let's create your account. So first name, last name, email address, confirm email address, and password. I just want to compare that to the field that you'd selected. So you dropped off confirm email address, I believe. Nope, you've got it there. Oh, and submit. Okay. So I was trying to figure out, like, what's the missing piece. The good news here is that you were bright enough to say, hey, you know what, this feels weird not having a label telling you what to do. I think messaging, whatever form you're creating, having that messaging at the top makes sense. I didn't give you that, though. So what I'm really looking for here, for those of you who might be watching this, coming up on this soon in the program, I am looking for you to logically add the things that are missing. I'm not gonna tell you, hey, here's the copy that should go around this form. I'm hopeful that you will figure that out. These are fine. I'm guessing that if I had a error, it would likely show up below. The question I have here, Luigi, is when I add, what happens when we add a name here? Does that label go away? I hope that label doesn't go away. I'm hoping that label might shrink and come up above it. I'm wondering what that interaction is, because we've kind of talked about the importance of having labels, and we'll go back to exercise 1. We've talked about the importance of having these labels. You don't necessarily have to have everything in a box, but being able to know, this is for home address, okay, and this is for city, and this is for state. That's beneficial when you're filling this out, because if you, for whatever reason, get distracted and you come back to it, and this has, Joe, how are you supposed to know that's an email address? So that's my 2 cents on that. I'm interested in what happens with the labels here. Over here, here you have from and to, so that's good. I think that I think something similar here for this feels like I've already filled it in, and that's fine. And here, I'm guessing that this is selectable, and this switches that, the from and to. So I want to check again over here on part 2. So I have origin, departure, arrival. So down here, I think departure / arrival, much in the same vein as that. And then quantity, I think, passengers at the top. Like, a very similar structure to what you have here. Obviously, that makes it just slightly deeper. But I do think it would be beneficial to you. I think it would be beneficial to you to have those labels here, and then search flights, and you can flip back and forth here. That's fine. That's all fine. Again, it comes down to like thus far what I'm seeing is labeling, and here, let's update your card. What's interesting is, there's a couple things here to think about. And first of all, I like the fact that you went with the, this is supposed to be no lines. This technically is no lines. These challenges, this is dark mode, but this is also no lines. There's no lines here. This is just using color to create borders. So I think that you could do the same thing here if you desired, but you've gone just minimalist, and that's fine too. Okay, but as shown on card, we're updating a card. So here I would expect there to be a name, a card number, an expiration date, a CVC. I would expect all that to exist, and then there's probably got to be a way to edit the pre-existing, which is here, but I'm not seeing quite yet. So how do I initiate the edit? Because this update card really isn't a thing quite yet. Like, it's gray or something until I've updated the card. So there's nothing to update yet, and that ultimately is the, I need to initiate the edit of an existing card because we're updating a card. We're not adding a new card. This screen looks a lot like, hey, I'm going to add a new card, and this is something that I brought up with Eve. When we update the card, what happens to these fields? So there's some questions about this one, and as I was stating before, everything's about that interaction. Like, okay, I see this state. I don't really feel like this is a state in which I am editing. So how do I initiate the edit? And I think if we can discuss that on this particular screen, then we'll be able to move forward. Join our newsletter, email. Franklin gmail.com, and it's got the red underline. Please enter a valid email format and join. That makes sense. That makes a lot of sense to me. It's really focused on trying to be minimalist with regard to the you're not going with a big bright red box. You're just, and I'm guessing there's no line work here, but it's probably underlined it in red, which is nice. I like that you're being very specific about the error message, which is nice. So really here I like it all. I want labels here so I understand what these fields are. I want to know what happens to the label over here, and then I want again you've got edit here. It's on the board, but it didn't make it in. So a couple of updates there, Luigi. Nothing big. The designs are very clean. You stayed with a pretty consistent theme throughout, which is fine. But we need to think about what we're doing with it really labels and how do we initiate the edit. Okay. Tejal is in here. I'm going to hop into Discord really fast and grab her. Well, actually, we'll fire this up so we can look at her portfolio, because I have to give props to Tejal. It's really nice. So there she is, and she's got Idea Board and Bergen, and she's got recent work like City Bus and some of her motion graphic work. She's worked with a lot of companies. You should totally totally check out Tejal's work. Let's look at her about page. So, she does all sorts of fun stuff here. She is an award-winning designer. She did previously, as you'll notice from her awards here, she's done a lot of work in motion graphics, and but she's making the transition into visual design. That's one of the reasons I'm guessing, and you'll see a lot of motion on her site. But it's what's funny, and Tejal will tell you this firsthand. The amount of motion that she has on her site has really toned down. At when she first came in, she was asking a lot of, okay, how do I do this? And how do I do this other thing? And I want a lot of things moving. And at some point she's like, it really slows the website down. I think I'm going to tone that back. And it's so good to see her grow through this process. She'll tell you, I pushed back a little, but most of the adjustments to the amount of motion she was showing was all like she initiated those changes. So good job, Tejal. I try very hard not to coach somebody into designing a portfolio that looks like something I would have designed. Okay, I try to coach more on design principle and mentor you to a spot where you have something that reflects you. Like, for instance, I would probably not use the salmon color, the pink here, but it works really well with the blue, for the record. But this is Tejal's thing, and the dots and the animation style, like, this is her thing, and I'm super happy with where she's ended up. But she's been updating her LinkedIn, and we're full service shop here. When you talk about working into and she did update that. I like it, Tejal. She had a different photo here before, and she's gone with the pink and we've talked about this. We've talked about with the resume, and the way that's designed, and she's now brought that over to LinkedIn, trying to tie these themes together. So that was a smart move, Tejal. I told you I didn't think you needed to change it, but I do think now when you go from the home page of the website to the LinkedIn, it does tie together quite well. She updated her about. area yesterday, and I do think it's really important to pay close attention to what you're putting in that about section. You want to tell them who you are and what you're currently doing, and then you want to work into your background. I think you've done a good job there. We worked through a lot of that yesterday. The big thing that we were doing yesterday: animated video, graphics, social media, convert them. Yeah, this is missing the UX reference point that we talked about yesterday. So I'm not sure if that dropped off or not. So let's work on getting it back. She's got a number of projects here. So that's Bergen. I'm not sure why Bergen is pixelated. So that's a concern. I like seeing City Bus, Idea Board, and here's the other design work that she had in here as well. Yeah, I like it, but for whatever reason, we need to look at why this, because I know on your site that's not that way. Oh, is it that way because it's a link to a video? Maybe that's the problem. Okay, yeah, that's what it is. So that's an unfortunate thing, but getting your current projects in here is more important than not have. I don't think you'd want to not list it there just because it was pixelated. It's just a video, the Vimeo preview. The other thing that I was really pushing, and I say this to Tejal. It looks like you've also updated your honors and awards since we talked yesterday. Recommendations. There's a lot of people that will tell you, hey, you should go to all the social media meetups. You can't do that right now. There are no social media meetups, or not social media. There are no meetups in your city. There are meetups online. We're kind of doing that right now, but it's more one way. But there are lots of design groups beginning to gather. Just seeing the first portions of that, first percolating appearances here and there. There's another way you can do yourself a favor, and it's hopping into recommendations. And with recommendations, you don't want to give recommendations to people that you don't really feel like did a good job. But my belief is that at minimum, there are at least 3 people that you've worked with that you could go give a recommendation to right now. At least 3. And what the funny thing about recommendations is they tend to be reciprocal. Like if you give somebody a recommendation, there's a high probability that they're going to give you one back. Now, you don't necessarily want to give a recommendation because you're looking for a recommendation, but I believe giving recommendations starts the cycle. You might not get a recommendation back from that person, but you might end up getting a recommendation from somebody else. And I believe that if we all did more recommending and telling other people in public about good experiences that you've had with somebody else, I think it's a good thing. I don't think that's a negative. I think talking well of other people, I think it's a good look. Overall, I think it shines a light on you that puts you in a favorable position. So for me, I'd like to see you give more recommendations. I'd like to see everybody go give 3 people a recommendation this week. Tejal, that's your assignment, okay? But for everybody else that's watching this, just know that is something I really believe is a great way to build your community. And it means a lot more than shaking. Obviously you can't shake hands at a meetup right now, but rubbing elbows, you can rub elbows. It means a lot more than just rubbing elbows at a meetup. All right. So that's my 2 cents here. I do want to, Tedral, I want to spend some more time going through and like reading this additional content. So we talked about updating this. So create an online content platform specializing in videos, memes, micro content for moms, and celebrating the common. After all, life as a mom is no less than I think this needs some massaging. You talk about community here, which is fine. Um, I, I wonder if it should say my Facebook community currently has close to the you know the Bollywood mom Facebook community currently has close to 5,000 followers or members. The my Facebook page makes it sound more like it's your personal page, and I would like to put it on. I'd like to put it back on this community that you built. Which, by the way, if you can build a community, I think that's a hugely valuable thing when you're applying for jobs. After all, life as a mom is no less than a Bollywood blockbuster. No less complicated than a Bollywood blockbuster. No less interesting than a Bollywood block. Like, no, what I'm trying to figure out there is, what is it no less than? I'm struggling to connect those two concepts. There's a comparator that needs to slip in between those, and like it's interesting, it's complicated, like it's dangerous. Like what is it about the mom and the Bollywood blockbuster that are those two things are similar? It's no less taxing than filming a Bollywood blockbuster. Like there's lots of things in there that I think we could do a better job of connecting those two concepts. So I want to come back and get that adjusted. I want to see the recommendations come up, and also skills and endorsements. This is where, like, right now your skills and endorsements are really heavily leveraged on television and post-production, motion graphics, even motion graphics, which is, motion graphics is your thing, but post-production is, and post-production's fine, but what we really want to do is we want to level up these areas. And I'm going to give you, she's very good, and we're going to submit. We're going to, she's very good. We've worked together. Tejal and I have worked together quite a bit. Figma, she's really good at Figma. Very good. And yeah, storytelling, she's extremely good, highly skilled at storytelling. And when you're going through and doing this, answer truthfully. Like, if somebody's like the best you've ever seen, give them the best you've ever seen. But you can only say that about one person. You can only say, like, this person is amazing. Everybody else is very good. Okay? Anyway, that's my 2 cents on it. But now Tejal has a few more things. So skills and endorsements matter. Recommendations matter. This is LinkedIn. People want to see what other people have said about you. That's the whole point. All right. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, that's gonna do it for this edition of the Feedback Loop. I hope that wherever you are, you're doing well. It's a trying time for everybody, no question. This is we're in uncharted water. However, Feedback Loop is every Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Central. And next week, Monday, noon Central, Portfolio Potluck is back. So tell your friends. We're going to be posting more about that over the weekend. We're going to be doing portfolio reviews every Monday at noon Central for the foreseeable future, as we try to get more people together. And that will be more of an open call. It won't be live streamed. It will be a Zoom call. So be sure to sign up for that when you see the link drop. If you want to participate more in Feedback Loop, feel free to sign up for the New Pragmatic community. It's at newpragmatic.com. And I'm Chris Courtney, and I will see all of you again on Monday. Take care.